Welcome to Leaving a Legacy, Navigating Estate Planning with Rose Harper Law.
Hello, and welcome back to Leaving a Legacy, Navigating Estate Planning with Rose Harper Law. Rose is founding attorney of Rose Harper Law, where she helps families protect what matters most through estate planning and personal injury law. I'm Chelsea Reynolds, and today we're going to be talking about Medicaid and long-term care planning and how to protect your assets from nursing home costs. Hot topic. Thank you for joining us again, Rose.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Definitely an important topic. So, looking forward to providing some information.
Can we start with some of the basics? What's the difference between Medicaid and Medicare for long-term care coverage?
Yes. So the key difference lies in, what each program is designed to cover. So Medicare is a federal health insurance program primarily for people age 65 or older. And it's designed for acute care. So, hospital stays, doctor's visits, short term rehabilitation. Medicare will only cover a very limited amount of long term care. So, specifically up to 100 days of a skilled nursing facility care or like another qualified hospital stay. But after those 100 days, then Medicare coverage for that care ends. So for the first 100 days, Medicare. Okay. Medicaid, on the other hand, is a joint federal and state program designed for people with limited income and assets. And it's primarily for long term care, actually, which I think people don't realize. And that includes extensive stays in nursing homes, assisted living, and even in home care services. So, Medicaid is a needs based program, meaning you must meet strict financial and medical eligibility requirements to qualify.
You touched on it a little bit, but what kind of long-term care services can Medicaid cover for those who qualify?
It can really be a lifesaver to have Medicaid for some families. It can cover the full cost of a nursing home, including the room and board, medical care, personal care. Beyond nursing homes, Medicaid can also offer programs that are called like home or community based waivers that can help people stay in their homes in a community setting, like an assisted living facility. And these programs can cover things like in home personal care or like an adult daycare or home modifications. It can get incredibly expensive. And so, for someone who needs Medicaid, this is really valuable.
What are some of the biggest misunderstandings that people might have about Medicaid and how it works with nursing home care?
I think one of the biggest misconception is like that it will cover long-term nursing care. So, as we kind of discussed, a Medicare really won't. So, just having that understanding that Medicare is for people think that it covers long term. It's
Mm.
only your first 100 days. And then Medicaid has very low asset limits. So, you might need to employ certain strategies to, protect some of your assets, but allow you to still qualify for Medicaid. So, sometimes people mistakenly believe that, oh, they're going to lose their home or their primary residence in order to cover their costs or be able to qualify for Medicaid. But there's ways that you can plan ahead so that you don't have to, lose your home in order to qualify.
How does Medicaid eligibility get determined? And then what financial limits should families be aware of?
So, Medicaid eligibility for long term care is determined by a person's income and assets. The rules vary by state. But as a general rule, an individual may have no more than a few $1,000s in countable assets to qualify. The limit is often around $2,000 for the federal poverty level or an income cap. However, certain assets, such as a primary home, one car, personal belongings, a prepaid funeral plan, are considered exempt and don't count towards the asset limit.
And what planning options are available to protect assets while you're maintaining Medicaid eligibility?
So, one of the most common is using a Medicaid Asset Protection Trust, which is a type of irrevocable trust. So, your assets are transferred into this trust, are no longer considered owned by you, the individual. Um, and there is a look back period for eligibility with regard to transferring those assets into a Medicaid Asset Protection Trust. So another strategy is gift giving, and things like that. But you definitely want to make sure that if you are considering the fact that you might need Medicaid to cover yourself, um, as you get older, it's something you want to start discussing sooner rather than later with an estate planning attorney.
Can you explain how the Medicaid look back period works and then why transfers made during that time can cause some problems?
Yeah, so the Medicaid look back period, it's really a crucial part of this process. So in almost all states, it's 5 years. So 60-month period. And when you apply for Medicaid, the state will scrutinize all your financial transactions, including any transfers of assets for less than fair market value. So if you think, oh, I'll just gift my house to, I'll gift this to someone for $20 or something, but the state's gonna know, no, that has your car was worth $50,000. So, they're really scrutinizing every single transaction, all of your assets that are transferred during that 5-year period before you apply for Medicaid. Um, so if the state finds an uncompensated transfer, like gifting money to a child, it will impose a penalty period of ineligibility. So the penalty is calculated by dividing the value of the transferred asset by the state's average cost of nursing home care. For example, if you gifted $100,000 during that 5-year look back period and the average nursing home cost $10,000 per month, then you would be ineligible for 10 months. And this penalty period can be, really devastating to families who have to cover those care costs during that time out of pocket.
So this is another you've in a bunch of episodes talked about how being proactive is so important. So again, 5 years. How can waiting until a health crisis to start thinking about Medicaid create more problems?
Waiting is the single biggest mistake that families make. When a crisis hits and a loved one needs immediate long term care, there's no time to wait for the 5-year look back period to
Mhm.
expire. So any transfers made to try to qualify will trigger that penalty that we just talked about. So that could potentially leave your family trying to pay for your long-term care out of pocket due to that ineligibility period. So proactive planning years in advance of needing any care is the key to preserving, your wealth and ensuring a smoother transfer.
What are some other mistakes you've seen families make when they're trying to handle Medicaid planning on their own without getting legal guidance?
A mistake people make a lot, I think, is just like, they're innocently like transferring their house into their child's name, only to realize like they did it too late, or that created a gift tax issue, or it triggered a major look back penalty, or maybe there's a capital gains tax issue. So, you know, just mistakes like that, like transferring things into your kid's name, but you didn't seek out counsel, you didn't find out is that the best way to go about it, or you're relying on like outdated information, or your buddy down the street did it and didn't have an issue. So they didn't have an issue yet because they didn't get, you know,
Yeah.
they didn't get caught or audited. But yeah, I think, definitely getting that consultation to find out based upon your specific family dynamic, assets, and how they're owned, and your goals, because maybe your buddy doesn't have, the concerns about needing Medicaid. Or,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? So you're listening to advice from people who maybe don't have the same situation that you're in. So definitely seek out legal counsel so that you have legal clarity about what your best path forward is to protect yourself and your family and your assets.
All excellent advice. Seek legal guidance and early.
Yeah.
Be proactive.
Yes.
Finally, how should families get started with Medicaid planning?
Oh, yeah. That's what we just talked about. So, the first step is like educate yourself on the basics, seek out legal counsel, get some consultations going, find an elder law attorney who specialize in Medicaid planning in your state. Um, and, also you want to make sure that you gather together all your financials. That way they can properly guide you and, find out what your options are and get planning.
Lots of work to be done, guys. Let's all get on it. Well, thank you so much, Rose, for joining us again. And thank you for listening to today's episode of Leaving a Legacy with Rose Harper. If you'd like help with Medicaid planning or protecting your family's assets from nursing home costs, visit roseharperlaw.com. And don't forget, leave a review, subscribe, and share this episode with someone who might need it. Thanks again, Rose.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.